call's a split call. Eugenie Sage, 5 minutes.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker, thank you. I'm pleased to take a short call on the Agricultural Compounds and Veterinary Medicines Amendment Bill. The Green Party will be opposing this bill. As others have noted, the substances used in pesticides, herbicides and veterinary medicines have to be registered before they can be manufactured, used or sold, and the compounds where they're used for new uses also have to be registered. And as part of that whole regulatory approval process, applicants have to supply information about the product's safety, its efficacy and the likelihood of residues after use. And often quite considerable information and research is needed to provide that information. And information that's provided to the regulator by one manufacturer obviously has value to competitors because they can use it to formulate a similar generic knockoff product without the upfront cost of having to do the same research for the regulator. Now, the Green Party certainly wants the primary sector to have access to the latest technology both for animal health and for plant protection, but we also want to reduce our use of pesticides and herbicides, and we want to move much more towards integrated pest management. We want to see more chemicals with reduced impacts in use, and certainly new products can help here. But we're opposing the bill because the balance in the legislation is far too heavily weighted to meeting industry wants rather than public needs for good information on the chemicals which we broadcast so freely across our landscape to control our plant and animal pests in our farming systems. And I'd like to note, Mr Speaker, that around a third of the 3,000 different products which are currently registered for sale in New Zealand under the Principal Act are agricultural chemicals. The public has an absolute right to know what is in these pesticides and herbicides, what the toxic compounds are, what their effects are, what the residues are. And while industry wants to see new uses and new formulations to have data protection, we don't, because that means that the information remains secret and it's not in the public domain. And extending the data protection or the secrecy provisions in this bill around those active chemical ingredients in both herbicides, pesticides and veterinary medicines will certainly benefit the companies that manufacture and sell them, because it does reduce the ability of competitors to piggyback on their research, but it doesn't meet the public's need for information. And we're not convinced that there is in fact a real need for this bill, because this demand for law changes to extend the data protection period has come primarily from industry players. It certainly hasn't come from regulators like the EPA or MPI, and the bill in effect actually ignores the advice from MPI and appears very much to be based on the demands of the chemical industry. The Associate Minister is saying what? But if she reads the regulatory impact statement, MPI says there, and I quote, "There is no compelling reason to increase the data protection period for innovative compounds because, as the regulatory impact statement notes, manufacturers can patent those compounds for a 20-year term, so they don't have to worry about competitors developing copycat knockoff products." So what is the need to increase the data protection period from 5 to 8 years when MPI is saying there is no compelling reason to do this? So we've got the government here interfering in the market to benefit the big multinationals like Monsanto, instead of providing more transparency about what active ingredients are being used and their impacts and residues. And as another speaker had noted, MPI had also said that extending the length of data protection may, note may, provide an incentive to add minor, note minor, uses to labels. So in that regulatory impact statement, MPI is making it very clear that there is not a strong case for this bill.